All right. In this tutorial, we're going to be talking about placing pictures as well as other objects into our layouts, adding on to what we did about placing text. So I've got my fake article here and my fake headline. And now I need to start filling up some of this white space. Like maybe I didn't write very much on my article, and I've got to figure out a way to increase what people see on this page. Easiest way, the most malleable thing we have is pictures. So I'm going to find a way to add a picture here. So whenever I'm doing layouts, I want you to think in terms of rectangles. Think about grids. So I'm going to, instead of having this kind of lopsided headline article here, I'm going to center my subheading and my headline using this selection tool. I'll highlight them both. I'm going to kind of move it over the top. Oh, and that actually works out perfectly. And see how I kind of adjust that until I see that purple line show up? I know that purple line means I'm perfectly splitting these two columns. Okay, so I've got my headline. And maybe let's try this first. I'm going to try to put my article over on this side. And then I'm going to try to fill up this space with a big old long picture. A couple ways I can do that. One way is I'm going to download a picture from a camera or wherever I have it saved. I'm going to place it. So File, Place. And I'm going to navigate to my journalism folder, but you can go wherever your picture is saved. Your book, Restad. I've got a picture right here. And I double click on that picture, and now I can kind of paint it wherever I want. So I'm just going to start by placing it on anywhere on my document. Okay, picture of a cool skateboarder here. A couple things about adjusting pictures. Number one is there's two ways we can adjust pictures. We can change their frame. So maybe I wanted to crop in and just see this dude. So notice how if I move these anchor points, the picture's not actually changing, the frame is. The other way we can change the picture is by moving the picture itself. So if I'm moving this picture and wanted to move the picture within the frame, so to say I tighten this up, and I want to adjust him so he's in the center, I can click the circle and see how this brings up my picture within the frame. I can kind of adjust that. And then I like to fine tune things using just the arrow buttons. There we go, looks pretty good, like that. All right, so now I'm gonna wanna fill up this space. And when I'm using pictures going to the edge, this is why we set up a bleed. The bleed is this red line. So I'm gonna make sure all of my elements that go near or off the page go all the way to the bleed. And what that makes sure is that when we print this, there's no accidental white space between the edge of the page and where the picture begins. It's just this clean, flush line all the way to the edge of our document. All right, so next thing I'm gonna do is get my frame set to where I want, because I actually want to fill up this whole space. So I'm gonna make this frame nice and big. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit using Control minus, and zoom in with Control plus. Control minus. I'm going to make this frame huge. And now I'm going to try to make this guy fit in this frame. So frame is set. Let's adjust the picture. Whenever I change the size of a picture, I'm going to hold down Shift. If I don't hold down Shift, this is what happens. You get Slender Man, or you get a guy who's really, really, really wide. Not cool. So hold down Shift and notice how everything changes proportionally. And I kind of like that effect where this guy is kind of skateboarding in from off of the page. And to double check what it's like, I'm just going to pop into overprint view. Sweet. I like that. One thing I don't like is how little space there is up here and how much space there is down here. I would either need to fill that up with another picture, or just use my white space evenly. So if see how I grab all of this text, so click somewhere in dead space and drag over all of them. Then I scroll on down and I get to that pink line. That pink line means it's perfectly centered in the page. Get that oriented. Now when I look at it, that looks a lot more intentional. Like the same space that's up here is the same space that's down here, and it looks even. But that still leaves me, okay, what do I do with the rest of this? Well, my idea is going to be I like this idea of him coming in and almost spilling into the document, but I don't like this big white page. So I'm just going to move this whole thing over here, making sure I get that nice line so I know it's in the middle. And then again, adjust my frame. I'm going to pull that frame all the way to the edge, and then I can adjust him. Something like that. Do I like that? No, I don't think I like that. So I'm going to move him back. And remember, always think about this center line here, because this is where the fold is going to be. So I want to keep him generally centered on that page, kind of like that. Let's take a look. Yeah, I think that's pretty sweet. Okay. Other things we need to make sure we know how to do is I want you guys to work with what's called a text wrap. So I'm going to add an inset quote, and that's going to be a quote that's pulled out of my article. And here it's just going to be gibberish that I'm going to kind of make pop and use as a graphic design element. So I'm going to grab a tiny little sentence here to create a new text box. I'm going to paste it in there. Now I'm going to make it something bold, something that stands out. So I'm going to go back to this Arial. I'm going to do Arial black because I know that's really, really bold. I'm going to crank up the size, space it out a little bit more. Maybe I center it. Needs a little bit of, there we go, kind of like that. There we go. And then tighten it back up. Okay. So I'm liking where this is looking. And I want to put it right in the middle here so it kind of forces you to read around that quote. But notice if I just put it over the top, well, now you can't read anything. There's a really easy thing called a text wrap that you can add. So go to Window and Text Wrap. You can add this little guy here, wrap around the bounding box, bam. And see how the whole article responds and changes when I have that on versus when I have that off. So I'm going to do that, and I might even give it a little extra space to breathe. So that looks pretty good. And obviously I've changed the length of my article. So after I put in that box, I've got to recenter it. Maybe I'm going to move this guy around. That's looking all right. And like that. Oh, not quite. I did it. There we go. I like that. Maybe even going to make this a nice bright color. Let's see if I can do that. Hold that. Let's get the, I like that red. That brown. There we go. I'm liking that now. All right, adjust some things so we get nice and smooth. All right, so since I added length to the article here, I've got to highlight everything, refine that center line. There we go. This. All right, last thing I want to add, I want to make sure that we've got a caption. So I'm going to do right caption here. Again, I'm going to go back to Corbel because I like that. We're going to do Corbel bold. I'm going to make it nice and small. We're going to do like 8-point font. And I'm going to put it on this picture, maybe over here, explaining what's going on. We're going to make that text white so it stands out a little bit. Bam. It looks really small, but people can read 8-point font. Final thing I want to add is some graphical elements. What if I don't want this space over here to be white? What if I want this space over here to be a really, really light gray? I'm going to grab my rectangle tool. I'm going to create a box and make sure that it goes to or past the bleed. Then I'm just going to select whatever gray that I want. I can either pick a color from this. I can double click and kind of pick one of my color sliders here. Or the one that I like the best is I use this color swatch on the right-hand side. So I'm going to pick a black and then crank that way down like that. Right click on it, and I'm going to arrange, send it back, and there we go. There's my magazine spread. All right, good luck, folks, and let me know if you have questions.